to post the fact that, because the conference is in English, so my entire presentation is going to be in English. And so bear with us. I'm sure you'll enjoy the English version of Debussy La Mer. Well, good evening and welcome to the Sage Hall of the National Taipei University of Education. I'm Ya-Hui Wang, your conductor and speaker for tonight. This hall is named after a famous Taiwanese song composer, Deng Yuxian, therefore Yu Xianting, who is also an alumni of this school. I'm here to present you Claude Debussy's La Mer, and on the cover of his first edition of this work, one saw on the cover, as you see here, a cropped picture of the Japanese woodblock artist Hokusai's 36 views of Mount Fuji. You can't see Mount Fuji here, but I'll show you the original print later on. And this is the Great Wave of Kanagawa. So why did Debussy crop this picture? We had a question during the conference, and really I believe that he wanted to bring a sense of familiarity and exoticism to his new work, as Hokusai's art was very popular in France and also widely recognizable in Europe. As they say, without Hokusai, there might have been no Impressionism. Well, we'd like to welcome our international guests attending the International Interdisciplinary Conference on Visuality and Intertranslatability that is hosted by the Yi and we have Dr. Boris Guo, who's the Dean of our Yisu Yuan, and also the main person, and I have much to thank Professor Lin Zhiming, who has put together this IPAA so wonderfully. Thank you. This is actually part 2 of my conference presentation, where I will have an orchestra at my disposal to explain the musical nuances and the opportunity to perform for you Claude Debussy's La Mer. And if you see those students that are sitting there in black, they are actually my orchestra. Well, let's go by chronological order so that we have some sense. And we start with Ukiyo-e, and that began and declined in the Edo period. This chart is a bit cut off because the PowerPoint really goes to the bottom. But this social division of at that time during the Japanese Edo period was really based on Confucian concept of the natural order of society. So the merchants who are at the bottom became very rich and began to have pursuits of pleasure and expensive spending, and this created a popular cultural trend. Ukiyo-e means pictures of a floating world. Subjects were female beauties, kabuki actors, travel scenes, landscapes, and erotica. So here is Hokusai. He was born in 1760. Okay. La Mer was written about 1900 to 1905. So this is the artist who painted the Great Wave of Kanagawa. Hokusai was actually not his real name. He changed it almost 100 times. Before he drew the Great Wave, I would like to show you 2 other waves that he drew. This is one of them. You realize the big wave comes from this side, the right side. And those of us, who read the 繁体字, the newspaper, that means the Taiwan newspaper, you realize that the reading goes from the left side, the right side to the left, excuse me, right side to the left, okay? In his second wave, he reverses the wave to the Western perspective, right? Because we read English from left to right, okay? Now this was the picture that Debussy cropped. You realize that there is Mount Fuji, right there, right? So Debussy cropped this wave for his La Mer. People have said, scholars have said that there is a yin and yang with this picture because it's right smack in the center. And we believe that that's because of Hokusai's belief in Buddhism. He was a very strong Buddhist. This is the wave that he had after the great wave of Kanagawa, also based on Mount Fuji right there. Okay, and you realize, oops, the wave is on this side again. As I said earlier on, had there not been Hokusai, there would not have been Impressionism. And here we have some of very famous Impressionistic French artists. And I like to compare his sketches that he had, Hokusai sketches. So here is on a nude man, sumo wrestler on the left by Hokusai. It's part of his sketches that he had an art instruction book that when he ran out of money, he wrote this art instruction book, and this was part of his sketch. And this is Nude Woman by Degas. Here's another, this is, the right side is Degas' famous dancer with double bass, and you see the same sort of pose with Hokusai's sketch. Here's one by Gauguin, man with a crouching pipe, same pose, you realize. And this is, of course, the famous Can-Can dancer that everyone knows. Van Gogh has said that his art is based very much on Japanese art, and even though he did not exactly imitate Hokusai, he imitated one of his contemporary, Hiroshige. But I find this very interesting. So this is Van Gogh's Starry Night. Everyone knows this art, right? Okay, so you put Great Wave with it. It fits. Ouch. Okay, so we go back to Debussy. So this is Claude Debussy stayed here, and this picture was actually taken by Igor Stravinsky. All our musician friends know Igor Stravinsky right here. Okay, so I want you to pay attention to this picture here. These two are Ukiyo-e prints, and if I zoom into it, I'm not sure if it can be seen. Not really, anyway, you see a little bit of, it's the Great Wave of Kanagawa. So he had it in his studio. Okay, so let's now compare, Debussy's crop of La Mer with Hokusai's original art. As I said, the Mount Fuji is missing. Okay, the boat with, there's supposed to be about 30 persons in these boats, which of course is all taken out. Debussy actually flattens a lot of the claws that are here. And he elongates the wave, because the original is a bit shorter. Okay? So that is very much, and one last thing. The signature, you realize Claude Debussy puts it exactly where Hokusai does it as well. Okay, so it's like a last act of homage. It was said that, I mentioned just now about the Edo period, which started Ukiyo-e, which is like wood block prints, so, and it declined in about 1830s, and that was about the time where Japanese trade opened up in France. And so a lot of these prints became extra paper. So what did the Japanese do with it? They wrapped ceramic, they wrapped things and sent it to France. So imagine, when all these antique shops open up ceramics or art things, and then they find these beautiful prints, and that was how it got introduced in Europe. Monet was known, it was said that Monet actually saw the Great Wave, this print, when he bought some spices in Holland. We do not know how true that is, but that is how these prints got to Europe. Okay, I like to talk about the influences of Debussy because aside from the Impressionist art, there is also a movement in literature, 文学, okay, 诗歌, poets and all that, called symbolism. And the difference between symbolism and impressionism is about the inner self, the inside, so you see this very Gothic look of it. Where impressionism, look at this picture, is about nature, it's about everyday life. Though this lady also look a bit sad, but it does not, the picture does not seem so Gothic and so inner feelings. But we all know that Debussy was a good friend of Stéphane Mallarmé, and this is Mallarmé's late poem, and you realize that he doesn't just write it as words, you know, he gives a lot of blanks and spaces, and Debussy uses this old concept, you know, to write his music so that there is a sense of silence, there is a good balance of sound and silence, blanks and all that. And of course, we all know the famous Afternoon of the Faun. That is based on Mallarmé's poem, Afternoon of the Faun. So today, we are going to present to you the 3 poems of Stéphane Mallarmé. It is a very interesting thing. Of course, both of them, when these poems became available in 1913, the 2 of them grabbed the opportunity to write music to it without realizing they were both writing on it. So when Debussy found out that Ravel was writing on it, he actually told Ravel, well, can you not write? And then to his dismay, Ravel also chose the same, out of the 3 poems, the same first 2 poems that Debussy had written. So I think there was a bit of a rivalry on that. So before we go to La Mer, which is more an impressionistic piece, let's listen to some of symbolist literature set to music. First, the 3 poems by Stéphane Mallarmé, by Debussy, and then by Ravel. Thank you.